Welcome everyone. We are here again with another session of Conchas y Café. This week, Abraham is going to be leading our lesson. I don't have very much to say in terms of announcements or anything like that, but for those of you that have been using Google Classroom to upload your assignments over the last couple of weeks, thank you. I am in the process of going through all of the assignments and stuff. Ani, I didn't forget to provide you feedback. Just got caught up with a couple of other things and didn't actually hit return yet. But you'll be getting feedback tomorrow for sure on the poems that you submitted recently. And for the rest of you, feel free to continue uploading your drafts to the different assignments that are listed in our Google class, and you'll continue to get feedback from either myself or Abraham or the both of us. And with that, I hand it off to Abraham, who's going to be presenting today's lesson.
Hi, nice to see you all here. I guess we're gonna move on to sharing my screen. Let's see. So today we're gonna start with the quotes. Let me try to make it bigger. Let's see if I can do that. Does that work? I think it does.
Yeah, that's better.
So the quote goes, never say I can't. Find someone who knows and ask till you have your lesson learned. Never mind how hard the task. Never say it. And this quote comes from Unknown, title I Can't. And in Spanish, it's nunca digas no puedo. Encuentra a alguien que sepa y pregúntale hasta que haya aprendido la lección. No importa cuál difícil sea la tarea. Nunca lo digas. Esta cita viene de Desconocido. Y pues vamos a ver qué opinan ustedes de esta cita. So let's see what you guys think about the quote.
I also copied and pasted it into the chat for those of you that would like to use the chat to reference it.
I like to hear stuff like that all the time because, I was down on myself sometimes, but I like to see, positive things. Like today, I was in the office at my work and I sat down to eat my oatmeal because I couldn't find anywhere else to sit. And I was kind of sitting in the corner. I look up on the wall and there's like a little positive bubble that said, now I forgot what it said. Don't quit. Like, don't give up. Don't give up. And I said, okay, they're speaking to me. Those words are, don't give up. The end, I'm done.
But that reminds me of the, I don't know if it was a poem or a little children's writing says about the choo-choo. I think I can. I think I can. I know I can.
Nice.
Kathy, I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I was just going to say this is a great week for that. I don't know if anybody's watched the Olympics and watched Donovan Carrillo. He is the first Mexican ice skater since 30 years ago, and he's a finalist. And so we've been watching just all the videos of all the hurdles that he had to go through. He relocated from Guadalajara to León because they closed his ice skating rink. And so he left and went to León and migrated there so that he could train there and continue his practice. And he's just a kid that isn't giving up. And I'm totally re-inspired. And now Abraham with this quote, this is like the perfect week to get that message. And just to say, so whatever hard thing you're going to throw at us, Abraham, bring it on. I think I'll be ready for it.
Be careful what you wish for.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Abraham is just being
Any-
dramatic. Don't pay attention to that.
Anybody else who wants to speak about this quote? ¿Alguien más que quiera aportar algo más a esta cita? Juan.
I just want, if I may, it just reminds me of like what I tell my students. I always tell my students, well, I tell my kids, look, guys, like, just because I'm the teacher, I don't know everything. I tell them, we all make mistakes. And you know what? And I tell them, it's not what you know, it's what you do with what you know. If I don't know, at least I can find a way to find it. So I tell them that whenever they have a question about something, there's always, and I tell them they have it made with this internet. I tell them now the answer is at your fingertips, guys. So don't stay with the doubt. If you have a doubt about something, look it up. So it reminded me of what I tell my students, all the time, that even if when they don't know something, when they're asking, when they are in doubt, to always look it up because they're gonna find it. But yeah, that's what it reminded me of. That's it.
Yeah, that's hold on, Rocio Diaz.
Oh yes, also like similar to is it Janie? I think that's Sor Juanita, I think it is. Okay, sorry, I saw the name. Similar
Yes,
to
that's right.
her experience, I think my work también. I guess you can go into the field and you can bump into a lot of egos where like people are like, oh, I know this. But I think our motto is to always ask for help and never be afraid to ask for help. And I say about egos, it's mainly because like you're working with attorneys and you always bump into like attorneys are supposed to know it all. But that's not the case. That's not the work environment that we work in. I think we're always try to push for supportive team members, and things are always changing with immigration laws. So you're not going to know it all. And so you have to ask for help. And even the top people like managers, they also have to look into things and ask. But yeah, it's a beautiful thing too, to be able to not know, because with asking, you're able to gain knowledge or gain some sort of knowledge from not knowing. And I think that's a beautiful thing because you're able to grow that way.
Well, like Janie said, it's not a cliche that we don't know it all. It's the truth. And she knows, and most of us that is in the educational field, we know that we had to go back to school to play catch up or keep up, Yeah.
San Juanita me recordó cómo arreglo yo mi carro, YouTube videos.
What did he
like,
say?
I always tell people back in the day, like for example, was like practicing guitar. It wasn't YouTube. You basically have to find people or find ways to learn and go to a class. Nowadays, it's a little more accessible. So you're right on that. I didn't thought about it. Thanks.
Let me just share this. You reminded me of something else. My kids grew up without their father, right? For whatever reason, right? But my son, he learned so many things. He learns to do so many things. And they would ask him, like, wow, you know how to do this? And things that you would learn from a father, no? And he said, YouTube is my father. Because that's what he would say. YouTube. He said, that's why, I know these things. Technology. So YouTube is my dad. He used to say that. It's funny, but anyways, he will always make it funny, but yeah. You reminded me of that.
Yes. Anybody else before we move into Louis?
Yeah. So, one of the things that this made me think of when I was actually like going over the lesson and stuff, but I remember very clearly my dad actually telling me one time, even though he wasn't the most patient with me, you know, I remember him one time telling me when I was little, uno no nace sabiendo. You're not born knowing. So, the basic idea there for me was, you have to really like understand your own limitations, your own knowledge, right? And seek out that which you need. I mean, that's really the reason why I started Distill Arts, was because uh, I was tired of not having opportunities and not being able to learn the things that I felt I wanted to learn. So there I was on my own, doing different kinds of workshops, going to other organizations, to learn about different laws that exist, surrounding nonprofits and things like that. And so, thanks in part to YouTube, but also just, looking for the resources, right? And being proactive in my own education. I really think that this quote does say a lot, right? It speaks a lot to that idea that we have to be self-motivated to learn and really understand our own limits to our knowledge, right? To our awareness. So that's all I wanted to add.
Oh,
Exactly.
you said that, and that reminds me of the praying hand. I can't remember the quote verbatim, but it says something about knowing let me see, understanding about the things that I can change, or knowing the things I can change, understanding the things I can, or something like that. Remember the praying hand? No.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Well,
it.
does anybody else have any? Sorry, you want to continue?
We're through.
Oh, so we're gonna continue with the poem of the day. Hopefully, I found someone who wants to read the part in English and then somebody in Spanish.
I
So
would
let me see
really
what I
love to
can.
read it in English.
Okay,
Please.
you're on. Let me just put it on. Okay.
Okay.
And do let me know if you see it correctly. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Start when you're
I
ready.
actually printed it out, so I'll probably read it off of the paper. So
Sure, I'll try to just move the screen so everybody can see what you're reading. Okay.
yeah.
Excellent.
Okay. Sounds good.
Excellent.
The Rest is Silence, Eileen Manassian. I left her behind, emaciated. I left her, dying. I left her. I left her. I wanted to die there with her, there in the desert where I left my mother, there where the stench of the dead and the dying filled the air. I left her. My other children dragging me on, the soldiers shouting, threatening, threatening. I had to go on for the others. I left her, my little girl, who was too weak to speak, too weak to cry. My little girl, whom I smothered, knowing it would be quick, not wanting night to call, the animals to crawl over her still living body, not wanting her to hear the death wail of the old and the frail all around. I smothered her and kept on walking, not hearing, not seeing, not smelling, not living, not breathing. I left her. I left my heart. I left my dreams. I left my tomorrow and every yesterday, every memory, every hope of a better day. I left her, and in that starless night, there in the desert, naked and bleeding, starving, shivering, I knew
The rest is silence.
Thank you very much, Annie. And before we move on to asking about this poem, can somebody read in Spanish, please? Sorry, somebody raised their hand.
San
Oh,
Juanita.
San Juanita? Go for it. Let me know. Okay. You see
Yeah,
it,
but
right?
I'm gonna read it off the screen, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
El resto es silencio. La dejé atrás, demacrada. La dejé muriendo. La dejé. Yo quería morir ahí con ella, allí en el desierto, donde dejé a mi madre, ahí donde el hedor de los muertos y los moribundos llenaban el aire. La dejé, mis otros hijos arrastrándome, los soldados gritando, amenazando. Tuve que seguir por los demás. La dejé, mi pequeña niña, que estaba demasiado débil para hablar, demasiado débil para llorar. Mi pequeña niña, a quien asfixié, sabiendo que sería rápido, no queriendo que la noche llamara a los animales a gatear, a los animales a gatear sobre su cuerpo aún vivo, no queriendo que ella escuche el lamento de muerte de los viejos y frágiles por alrededor. La asfixié y seguí caminando, no escuchando, no viendo, sin oler, no viviendo, sin respirar. La dejé mi corazón, dejé mis sueños, dejé mi mañana y cada ayer, cada recuerdo, cada esperanza por un día mejor. La dejé y en esa noche sin estrellas, allí en el desierto, desnuda y sangrando, muerta de hambre, temblando, yo sabía. El resto es silencio.
Thank you very much. And so I'm not gonna talk about the context yet about the poem. I'm gonna talk about the context later. I just want to see what you guys think about the poem as it is.
It's sad. But how do you say, to be safe, they had to leave, had to go forward or continue on. It's like escaping in the night from tourist, what do you call them? Snipers or something. And so, when life deals you lemons, you have to make lemonade. No, that don't fit. But they had to get out of there and they had to leave mom behind. Well, you say we're not going to discuss that. I like it. It was sad.
No, definitely you can discuss all that. What I mean is the context of who wrote the poem and all that stuff.
Okay.
But you can discuss the material as it is right now, and then I'll give you more on the context later.
Well, it
That's the way
sounded
I
as
like to
if,
approach art. Yeah.
if mom was too ill to continue on, so to take her out of her misery, what do you call a mercy killing? That's what it sounded like. But that's sad.
Yep.
That's very heartbreaking. Yeah. But it had to
Yes,
be. It had to be.
Yeah. Jenny?
I think that the way it's written, you can feel the pain, the sadness. Because she kept repeating, well, in Spanish, la dejé, like it was like too much, for. And I'm thinking her, woman. So I felt the pain that she was feeling in the way that she wrote the poem, the words, not even full sentences. And then, she keeps, I don't know, I felt like it was, not that it was dragging, but I felt like the pain was like, prolonged. That's how I felt it from the way it was written.
Well, definitely the style has that kind of banging repetition on it. And there's a part that's a little bit of a mistake. I forgot to tell Luis, with a kind of allí donde el hedor de los muertos, that kind of it's supposed to be cut in half. So yeah, basically most of the poem doesn't go too long. So it has that kind of repetition to it.
Yeah, I also caught a couple of typos as we were going over it. My apologies.
Yeah, details. No, that always happens. I just wanted to see because when I see them reading that part, I said like, oh, it definitely changes a little bit because they're going without breathing.
And that was hard for me because I couldn't breathe. As it is,
You see the importance of writing, like.
Tell me about it. That's why I write short sentences.
Yeah.
Now you know why I write my poetry like that, right? Because I have to breathe.
Luis has a good writer who did that on his. He's deathbed or something.
Yeah.
Luis.
Efraín Huerta. Yeah.
Check that out. We might want to check him out too. Yeah.
Ani's been
So
patiently waiting. Ani.
I just wanted to I just wanted to add on to what Juanita said. The writer never says the word guilt, but the repetition of I left her is, kind of creates that feeling of she's torturing herself, and I mean, I guess it's kind of straightforward in a way, but I just never really thought of it. I don't even know why I brought that up, but anyway, that's what struck me is she never says, I can never forgive myself for what I did. She doesn't say, she just says, this is what I did. But because she keeps going over and over it, that she's suffering over it.
Yeah. Well, that too,
Yeah.
and then not being able to give her a decent burial as well. I mean, because she says that her daughter was tugging at her, Mom, let's get out of here. They're going to come and get us too, And so, yeah, it's sad because it's really happening. In the East, those things are really happening.
It is a child that she smothered. Her mother also died, but what she's talking about is her daughter. She smothered her own little child, so that she could keep up with her other kids.
Yeah, and I can see it has totally a sense of urgency, that something that cannot stop and be done well, like mourning. It's just something that's happening. You're just moving on. Well, does anybody else have anything to say about the poem? Catherine?
When I heard it in Spanish, and of course, we're not talking context that you had at the bottom there, but this is what happens when there's these mass migrations of, as a result of war or poverty. And I feel like this poem doesn't stand alone. There's a universality to it. I mean, I know that there aren't a lot of others that have done this, but knowing that you have to make these hard choices during times of extreme unrest is powerful. So once it was read in Spanish, I felt like the story is universal, can be around the world. So.
Anybody else have any more? Okay, I guess we're gonna move on to the context of this piece. So this is what the writer said about the poem. The rest is silence. Is from Shakespeare's play Hamlet. I, however, will not be silent. about the Armenian genocide. This is in memory of the 1.5 million Armenians who lost their lives in the genocide of 1915. Thought this is a fictitious writing. The events depicted did happen during the Armenian genocide in 1915 by the Ottoman Turks. 1.5 million Armenians were marched into the desert, and it was come to be known as the Death March. My mother's family were fortunate. They were able to run away in time. They relocated to Lebanon. My mother was a refugee at 14 years of age. She and her two sisters suffered poverty and had to work hard to make a living for their family. Their fate could have been worse. April 24 marks 101 years since the event. Not all countries have recognized the genocide. Unfortunately, the United States is one of them. And I'll say in Spanish, okay? So esto lo escribió la persona que escribió este poema. El resto es silencio. Viene de la obra de Shakespeare, Hamlet. Sin embargo, no guardaré silencio sobre el genocidio armenio. Esto es en memoria de los 1.5 millones de armenios que perdieron la vida en el genocidio de 1915. Aunque este es un escrito ficticio, los eventos descritos sucedieron durante el genocidio armenio en 1915 por los turcos otomanos. 1,5 millones de armenios marcharon hacia el desierto en lo que hoy se conoce como la Marcha de la Muerte. La familia de mi madre tuvo suerte, pudieron escapar a tiempo. Se trasladaron al Líbano. Mi madre fue refugiada a los 14 años. Ella y sus 2 hermanas sufrieron la pobreza y tenían que trabajar duro para ganarse la vida para la familia. Su destino podría haber sido peor. El 24 de abril se cumple 101 años de aquel acontecimiento. No todos los países han reconocido el genocidio. Desafortunadamente, los Estados Unidos es uno de ellos. So now we have a little more context on this piece. What do you guys think? How do you see it now?
I see it the same. I didn't realize that they were marched into to their death in the desert, but I still see the same harassment through shedding the blood and everything.
Mohen Amini?
Mojde?
Mojde, sorry. You can speak Mojde. Just unmute yourself.
Oh, sorry. Can you tell me
got
the
it.
date of this paper? Because in 2019, United States recognized the Armenian genocide by Turks.
Great. Yeah, I didn't check the exact date when this happened. I just wanted to see check what the writers put on.
Since it says it's 101 anniversary, I'm assuming that it was published in 2016. And you're right, Mojda. I was going to say that as well. In the recent years, the United States did finally recognize the Armenian genocide.
Yeah, but it took a long time. So I remember with Annie's piece that she wrote about heroes, I kind of researched on that, and there was a lot of political movements why the United States and other countries didn't recognize it, which is horrible because that we have these events happening, many people suffer. 1.5 million people, that's a lot of people.
I may say maybe it was 2 main reasons. U.S. didn't do that. One, Armenia, before it was a part of Soviet Union, and Turkey is a NATO ally with U.S., not Armenia, not anymore a part of Soviet Union. And the Turkey is remain a NATO, but a part of NATO, but is not completely good relationship anymore compared to previous decade.
Yes, and I like what Catherine. Sorry, Annie, go for it.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Like Catherine was mentioning, definitely when I check all these, yeah, it definitely puts a place and a time to the piece that we just read. But it is definitely universal because it doesn't have those details. Mainly, the most like place detail is the desert part. But genocides have happened throughout human history, unfortunately, and these could be placed in different places and times. I think what the piece tells me a lot is like somebody asking for sympathy because it's putting us in the place of this person, what is going through their mind, especially more not of thoughts, it's more about feelings. What is this feeling of I losing everything that I have, even my fate? Because it's if you don't know, but like apparently the person is dead. Because the part of the play that says the rest is silence is from Hamlet. It's basically saying this is the end. I don't know what's next. I don't care because it's just basically silence. After death, we don't know what's next.
Yeah. But what rubs me the wrong way, and it has nothing really to do with that per se, is that when you listen to the news and those persons who could have been killed because of the response that was given back to the police weren't, but then those who more less, how do you say, more innocent is killed, if you get my drift. So,
Oh yeah, definitely. These
yeah,
horrible things happen to the innocent.
yeah. So,
Unfortunately, war
it's
is
a lot.
always yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything to contribute to this?
Well, if I could add one quick thing, the repetition that was brought up before, it's not just the repetition, it's also, I think, the use of I as the pronoun in the poem, that really helps us, see and feel the feeling of guilt that is definitely, embedded in this poem. Um, Partly because as you read this poem, you're reading in that first person. So even the use of first person point of view is really powerful in this poem, and it makes it that much more personal because as you read it, you're reading it as if you were that person that left her, whoever the her is, whether that be the mother or the child.
Yes, it's definitely it puts us in that position, which is I think what the things that caught the attention to me because I was telling Luis I'm looking for this type of poem or and there were a lot of poems that I seen. This one like kind of stood up to me. So okay, we're gonna continue with the next part of the lesson. You still see the screen, right? So today we're gonna talk about anaphora, often used in political speeches and occasionally in prose and poetry. Anaphora is the repetition of a word or words at the beginning of the successive phrase, clause, or lines to create a sonic effect. And the example is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s famous "I Have a Dream" speech uses anaphora. Not only is this quote at the beginning, "I have a dream," he refrains it, but throughout the entire piece, as into this passage, when he repeats the phrase, go back to Mississippi, go back to Alabama, go back to the South Carolina, go back to Georgia, go back to Louisiana, go back to the slums and ghettos of our northern cities, knowing that somehow this situation can and will be changed. Lo voy a decir en español.
No.
Vamos a hablar sobre anáfora,
Oh, I'm fine.
a menudo utilizada en un discurso político y ocasionalmente en prosa y poesía. La anáfora es la repetición de una palabra o palabras al comienzo de la frase, cláusulas o líneas sucesivas para crear un efecto sonoro. Un ejemplo es en el famoso discurso Tengo un sueño de Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., que usa anáfora no solo en su estribillo, tengo un sueño, que se cita con frecuencia, sino en todo el discurso, como este pasaje cuando repite la frase vuelve a. El ejemplo es, vuelve a Mississippi, vuelve a Alabama, vuelve a Carolina del Sur, vuelve a Georgia, vuelve a Luisiana, vuelve a los barrios marginales y guetos de nuestras ciudades del norte, sabiendo que de alguna manera esta situación puede y será cambiada. So do you guys have any questions of Anaphora? We have touched this before in a couple of classes. We just wanted to reuse the Anaphora, especially for this point that contains it. Catherine?
Is anaphora? Oh gosh, it's a hard word. Anaphora. Yeah. Repetition is key to this type of writing.
Yes, like in the piece that we just read that says
the I left her, and
just put a couple. Yes.
Yeah.
Dejé mis sueños, dejé mi mañana, or in English, I left her, I left my heart, I left my dreams, I left my tomorrow, and so on, right? You can see it throughout, or in the piece of Martin Luther King.
Okay.
Anybody else have a couple questions before we move on?
One of the important things to remember about anaphora, though, is that it always happens at the beginning. I've seen people use or think they use anaphora correctly, but sometimes they get it a little bit off. So just remember, it's always a repetition at the beginning of successive lines or phrases.
Or as they say, like, think as a politician, I will do this for you. I will do this for you.
And it has, and the portion that's being repeated, the poem has to start with that. It has to be the first line also.
I don't think the entire poem has to be done with anaphora. It just used here and there.
No, but I mean the phrase that's being repeated, the poem has to begin, the very first line of the poem also has to have that line.
That's a no, Luis, right?
Yes and no. The most effective use of anaphora. Sorry, Ani, it sounds like you're getting some feedback. If you don't mind muting. Thank you. So anaphora is again, at the very beginning. So when you're using anaphora, the best use of it is to go very first line, or at some point in the very, very beginning. Although it is possible to switch it up a little bit and use the technique halfway through and also change the phrase. So you can have an anaphora that, just like we'll see in our exercise today, that starts in one stanza and then it changes in the next stanza. So there's a little bit of flexibility, but the key part to anaphora is that the repetition always happens at the very beginning of the line, or at the very beginning of a phrase or clause if you're doing it within, like, say, an essay or something like that.
So what you're saying, where it says not, and then it changes up to I.
Yeah, correct. That's exactly what I'm trying to illustrate, is that it can change, but it needs to be a repetition at the very beginning. And we'll
remember, we're trying to create a sonic effect. Yeah. It's more the repetition that we want, and of course they have to follow each other a certain way, so you have that sound. Did we answer your question, Annie? Sorry.
Yes, thank you.
I want to ask a question. In the part where it says I left, if they had changed it, I left her, I left my heart, I left her, I left my tomorrow, can that be still the same?
It is, because the part, it's basically I left That's the part that's being repeated.
Okay.
That's what makes it so interesting, because you can add out other stuff, but you still have the beginning of the sound.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any questions before we move on? I don't see any. It's okay. We're gonna come. Oh, hold on. Sorry, I'm bad with that name. Luis, what was the name again?
Mojde.
Mojde.
One of the use of what's the Afra you said? Afura?
Anaphora?
Anaphora, I'm sorry, Anaphora. Is it can the benefit is we can connect different part of the essay or poem as well? You see, we have I left her, and we can see in different part of this poem the repetition of this I left her. It make us to make sense more from the beginning to the end.
Yeah, you don't have to have it throughout all the lines, just a couple of them to make that kind of effect. I will say 3 times will be the best, because 2 times may not have the same effect, because you want that kind of effect of continuing. But you can change a couple of things here and there, and not everything in your poem has to be an anaphora. Did we answer your question much there?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? Okay, we're gonna continue. So, okay. So we're gonna start with a class exercise. Life is full of caregivers, parents, grandfathers, and more. So I want to think of the caregivers that are missing. I want you guys to think about the caregivers that are missing are no longer with us. And again, this exercise came to be because of the poem and of me looking into a lot of genocides and thinking about the effects of not just the people who are dying during the genocide, but the gap they left behind. For example, the poem, the quote at the beginning, we're talking about trying to find people to help us develop and learn more. But what if those people were missing? Because, for example, these little girls who are living in Lebanon, they probably lost their parents. How are they going to ask, how do I cook this? How do I do my essay? How do I apply to a university? They're losing a lot of those caregivers that are really important. So I want you guys to have that in mind. Let me just put that in Spanish. So el ejercicio de la clase es, la vida está llena de cuidadores, padres, abuelos, parejas y más. Así que quiero que piensen en los cuidadores que faltan o que ya no están con nosotros. Y como le estaba diciendo en inglés, es que esto viene derivado de cuando estuve viendo todo esto de los genocidios, me puse a pensar que pues no solo las personas que mueren durante el genocidio son los afectados, sino la sociedad, porque pierden a muchas de las personas que pueden ser mentores o gente que los cuida. Por ejemplo, en la cita que dimos al comienzo, trata de eso, trata de, si no sabes algo, pregúntale a alguien, ¿no? Básicamente. Pero ¿qué pasa si no tienes a nadie que preguntarle? So, a esto vamos a dirigirnos, y para esto vamos a comenzar con este ejercicio. So, with this in mind, we're going to continue with the exercise, okay? So, put attention, this is going to be fun. With this in mind, as a class, we're going to create a poem. The first person is going to start with the first line. Then the second person is going to come up with the second line. They will repeat a part of the first line to create an anaphora. Then the third person will use the same repetition that the first and second used to create their own line. And then the fourth will do the same to end up the quatrain, a series of 4 lines that make one verse of a poem known as a stanza. En español, perdón. Vamos a continuar con esto en mente. Como la clase, vamos a crear un poema. La primera persona comenzará con la primera línea. Luego la segunda persona va a crear la segunda línea, pero repitiendo una parte de la primera línea para crear anáfora. Luego la tercera persona usará la misma repetición que la primera y la segunda persona para crear su propia línea. Y luego la cuarta hará lo mismo para terminar el cuarteto. Una serie de 4 líneas que forman un verso de un poema, conocido como una estrofa. So basically, we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna move on to another one. We're gonna create another quatrain using anaphora again. But first, we're gonna do the first quatrain. So do you guys have any questions in what we're gonna start doing right now?
I have a question.
Go for it.
The first 3 are going to repeat what the first, no, the first one starts,
Yes.
and the second and the third repeat the, what is
The
that
anaphora,
word?
yeah.
Okay. But then you say the third person, are they going to use a different one or the same?
So basically, the first person who's gonna start this whole motion in the ocean is the person who's gonna set up the anaphora. And then you're gonna take the part that you want to continue with that little part. And then the third one is gonna do the same, of course, adding stuff to it. And then the fourth one's gonna end it up again. And then we're gonna restart. You can restart the next quatrain when another person, different anaphora if you guys want to. But first, let's do the first one. Do you guys have any other questions before we
So we
continue?
just stretch it a little bit. We just add one more word or two to it.
Yes, excellent.
Okay.
Just a second.
I'm going to be recording your responses in the chat, so please don't use the chat during the exercise.
I'm back. Okay. So again, I mean, I'm not gonna force the first person because he or she will have the power to give this kind of the feeling of the poem. Okay. So whoever wants to go first. And again, we're just thinking of the people who are missing, either caregivers or mentors. I know it's a hard one, but you asked me for a hard one, right, Catherine? Moshe?
Sorry, you're on mute, Mojde.
Oh, and again, before we start, Luis is gonna write down in the messages the line of each one. So don't move anything around, and we'll keep it there safe. So at the end, we can just read it. Awesome.
I may suggest, I'm not sure about it, but I may suggest no time to say goodbye. Just because of the COVID, we didn't, many of us maybe had the experience of somebody die and we couldn't be with them the time of we know gonna die, but we couldn't meet them.
Excellent. That's a great opening line. That will be our opening line for this poem.
But I didn't
Can you type it, please?
understand.
No time to say goodbye.
Okay.
Thank you, Mojde.
Welcome.
I got to write that down. Wait.
Next.
Goodbye to your wisdom.
Well, remember, for the anaphora to work, we would need to repeat the beginning part of the
Oh, the
phrase.
beginning part. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, you can choose
Like the note.
how far you want to go along with that part. That's up to you. But the more, the longer you can send it, the better chance for everybody.
We have to repeat already?
Yes. Each of the lines is gonna do the anaphora part because we're practicing that, and And then on the fourth line, we're gonna restart and do something, another anaphora.
Okay, I'll go second.
Go for it.
No time for our last dance.
Ani?
No time to grieve.
Ooh, strong one. Strong one.
One more.
No time to find your resting place.
So do we have the four ones, right, Luis?
Yep.
Can you type it on the messages so I can see it?
It's there.
Oh, it is. Oh, wow.
No time
Oh,
to say
I
goodbye.
didn't scroll down. My bad.
No time to say goodbye. No time for a last dance. No time to grieve. No time to find your resting place.
Excellent. Okay, we're gonna continue with the people who hasn't a port. So we're gonna start another one, which is another quatrain. So who wants to go? Again, this is for the people who hasn't poured any to the first one.
My question
Juanita?
is this related to this? Is it, or do we start a new, what is it? Same topic?
Same topic.
It's the same, yeah.
Yeah. But now
But you have the
you
choice
can-
to continue with the anaphora we just presented, or have another anaphora. Anaphora is not about the subject; it's just about repetition of a phrase or words.
But it doesn't have to repeat at no time, right?
No, you can start with a new one if you want to. Yeah, but the same subject because it's the same poem. We're gonna do a whole entire poem. Okay, so any people? Come on, people.
Anybody?
That's what I was about to ask.
Yeah, because we're like what? How many people we are? We're more than four. I'm pretty sure.
I'll go. And I hope I
Thank
say
you,
this right.
Michelle.
I hope I say it right because I just came in 5 minutes ago. I have no regrets. I leave you with peace.
Can you repeat it one more time?
I have no regrets. I leave you with peace.
Thank you. That's excellent.
You're welcome.
Okay, we have Vero, Tina, Rocio, Nikolai. Come on, people. And who else am I missing? Karen.
Moshe?
I don't know who else is there.
Moshe?
Yes, shall I go with the next line?
Yes,
Next.
please.
I find you even in a starless sky.
That's a nice line, but unfortunately we're creating a new anaphora. So it would need to have I have no regrets or I have something at the beginning.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Hold on. Can you repeat it? Can you repeat it again?
If I remember right, it was something along the lines of I don't find you in the starless sky or something like that.
Shall I repeat the line, you mean?
Yeah, Abraham was asking if you could repeat.
Oh,
what
I'm
you-
so sorry.
It's okay.
I didn't catch that. I repeat this one. I find you even in a starless sky.
Yeah, just try to make it I have either no or I have, and maybe you can rearrange it.
Sure.
This is a good exercise, Abraham. It's a good exercise.
It's tricky, but
Little.
once you get the hang of it,
Yeah. But I can see everyone's really thinking.
Can we go?
I see a Mojde raised.
Moshe, you have it.
Raised their
Sorry.
hand.
Yes, shall I say that?
Yeah, go for it. You said you have the new one.
I have no regret to find you in a starless sky.
There you go.
That's good.
Yeah. I have no regret to find you in a starless sky. Felicia? Okay. Thank you for adding it in the chat. I have no regrets. I've howled to the moon. For the record, please no one add to the chat. I'm going to copy and paste our poem into a separate document, and hopefully this time we'll be able to add it to the final zine that we put together.
Felicia, you still want to say something, or Catherine?
Yeah, Kathy?
I have no regrets to have argued with you.
Great. All right, that's another quatrain in our under our belt. New quatrain.
Okay, we are going to start with the next one because we still have time. We still have a couple time to add one more.
Yeah, let's go for one more. Another 4 lines.
So the first one definitely has a big chance of of getting it.
Ayan?
Ayan Ortega.
Okay. A little nervous, but I
No
have
worries.
it marches on as I stand by.
It marches on as a standby.
As I stand by.
Excellent. You got it, Luis?
Got it.
Excellent. Thank you, Ayan. Okay, next person. This is raise the level up. Level up.
I think I saw a hand from San Juanita. No? Okay. All right.
She was throwing the chancla.
Tina.
Actually, it's David.
David.
It marches. Oh, sorry. It marches on to a place beyond.
Oh, good, good.
Lots of
Bring the big
snaps.
guns. Nice. Nice.
Excellent. All right. 2 more. Come on, people. You can do this. 2 more.
It marches with the countless unknown.
It marches to a place.
It marches
of hurt
with the
and pain.
countless unknown. Sorry, that was mine. Okay, and the next
Thank
one
you,
is
Abraham.
hold on. Who raised their hand?
Mojde
Mojde?
raised her hand.
Yes. It
Marches on
matches
fire.
on. It matches on when I lost myself.
It marches on. Then I lost myself.
Excellent. And I think, how many we have? 3, right?
That's 4, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, that's our third quatrain.
Third quatrain.
Do we want to go for
Okay,
4 quatrains?
Okay, I'll leave that to you guys. As long as somebody raises their hands, we can keep it up.
I have it.
Okay, Miss Lois?
Bring it
It
on.
marches on from hurt to pain. Or pain to shame. No. Hurt.
Okay, so
that sound
we
right?
start.
It marches on
Sorry.
from hurt to pain.
Yeah, so we're starting the new quatrain with it marches on again.
Oh, I just said it marches on from hurt to pain.
Yeah, Luis
Yeah,
put
I
it
added
on the messages.
Not that, I would want to end the poem, but it might sound kind of cool if we ended the last stanza as a tercet, so 3 lines, and each one of those lines being the first line from the previous stanzas. Does that make sense?
Like an envoy.
Ooh,
That sounds good. Put it on. I like it.
All right. Let's see.
No time to grief. I have no regret. Oh, I got it.
Luis is
All right.
put it in the message. Just waiting for him.
Okay. So I just added it. If you guys are cool with this being our ending, it would read as: no time to say goodbye. No time for a last dance. No time to grieve. No time to find your resting place. I have no regrets. I leave you with peace. I have no regret to find you in a starless sky. I have no regrets. I've held to the moon. I have no regrets to have argued with you. It marches on as I stand by. It marches on to a place beyond. It marches with the countless unknown. It marches on, then I lost myself. It marches on from hurt to pain. No time to say goodbye. I have no regrets. I leave you with peace.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
You're good.
Nice teamwork, guys.
Yeah, good teamwork, everyone.
Thank you.
That was good.
Top
You
on
need
your
any more?
shoulders.
Wow.
Well,
That was
before
good.
we close this shop, I want to leave you with your favorite part, guys. Homework. Let me.
You got
If I can
homework?
just say it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, as always.
Okay, so the homework. If you have piece of paper or you want to check it out, here it is. Homework. Write a poem about the missing caregivers using Anaphora. Kind of the way we did in the class. Just think about the missing caregivers. And then en español, la tarea va a ser elaborar un poema sobre los cuidadores desaparecidos utilizando Anaphora. And again, it doesn't have to be like disappear, like in the poem that we had in the class about like missing people because of war. Maybe you can also do it like a missing parent or somebody who's not in there anymore. So you have that like space to play around. Okay. Any questions?
I don't think I can do this.
And they have to have that.
I have a recording of you at the beginning, by the way.
And they have to begin with that phrase, right?
Well, the phrase you're gonna create, yeah, it's enough for
Yeah,
but you
okay.
have total
Yeah,
power
our own.
of
Yeah,
what
our
to
own. I
put us
couldn't
in
pronounce
there.
that word. That's all.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, it's a tricky one. Any questions? You can't say can't, Kathy. Maybe you can use that as your anaphora.
There you
I
go.
still can't pronounce that word. Opera.
Anaphora.
I was actually thinking this. I can't.
Anyways, San Juanita.
So does it have to be exactly like this? Because I don't know. It's like, for example,
Well,
like the stanzas, the way we did them right now. That's the
no,
way.
the number of the stanzas is just for the practice of today, and also want to introduce you to basically counting the lines, which is a quatrain because it's 4 lines. So that's an extra, so you guys know that term. But yeah, you have definitely the power to create like as many weird different stanzas you want, long, short, or wherever. The only thing it has to have is anaphora, which again it has to be with repetition. You can put the repetition in all the places you want, basically. And the whole poem doesn't have to be about repetition.
And it doesn't have to be like the way it was here, where it was the first stanza had this repetition. That the way we did it, because I'm reading the poem, the one that we read in class, El Silencio. Is that because that one has a lot of repetition, but it has it in different parts, and it's I
Yes,
don't know.
exactly. The entire poem doesn't have to have repetition. You just have to place it here and there. Maybe just a couple of repetitions. Doesn't have to be.
Yeah,
But just so you can use the anaphora as a good exercise, and also maybe you like it or not. But it's all these projects that we do is to give you tools, and whether you're gonna use it on your own poetry later on, it's up to you. But as long as you have the chance to practice them, I think that's what we're getting the most out of these classes, is to have the chance to practice new stuff and learning and
All right.
see if we like it or not, right?
Thank you.
Mojde, you raised your hand.
Yes, one quick question. Using anaphora, is it something very popular in American poetry, or something old from before?
Oh, this is a really, really old technique. This is actually something that was used by pretty much every culture that was a storytelling based culture. You'll find it in poetry from ancient Greece to ancient Japan to even in like ancient Mesoamerica. So it's nothing new. It's actually a technique that people use to help memorize their poetry and their stories through oral storytelling.
And like the piece that I gave you too, it tells about also people who are like in the government doing speeches. It's easier not just for the person reading the speech, but also for the people who's present. But because, for example, all of us probably know the "I have a dream," right? Because it was repeated throughout. So that helps also to stick them into our memories as the audience as well.
Is for new generation, it doesn't sound boring, or make not the flu the thoughts. It doesn't. For some people, it don't believe it is stop the flow of the thoughts, or is boring. It make boring the poem.
No, I would actually say that it actually makes it more interesting, because there's a lot of things that happen psychologically to an audience or to a reader when they're listening to a poem that uses anaphora. One of the things that happens is that it creates an expectation of what's coming next. So, people become sort of almost like a lullaby. They get lulled into the repetition, and that repetition creates a rhythm that people come to expect. It's like clapping your hands to a poem or to a song. It creates that sort of sound that makes it actually more inviting and more interesting. And like I said, this is something that has been used in poetry and writing since even before writing existed. Oral storytellers had to memorize their stories, and so repetition became one of those tools that they used in order to be able to, tell a story over and over again and to entertain their audience. And that's, universal. That's like from, again, ancient Mesopotamia to now. Just think of it as music. It's a form of music.
Yeah, it's not just for old people. Like, I can speak for the youth. But like, if you go to a concert, you will see that a lot. I mean, in songs, you can see that use of anaphora a lot.
That's right. Thank you. Thanks.
No problem.
Of course. So does anyone have any last?
Any more questions before?
Yeah.
Luis send us to bed.
Oh, it doesn't look like there's any more questions. So, if in case you do have a question, Kathy.
Oh, sorry, is this one that we're bringing back next week to workshop together?
Yes. Yes.
Got it.
Yeah. So again, just like Kathy just mentioned, next week we're gonna have a workshop session where we're gonna do breakout rooms, and you'll be able to share whatever you came up with your fellow classmates. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, Mojde and anyone else that I might have missed, next week we'll meet at the same time. Just come prepared to share your writing, and we'll hopefully give you some feedback live and in person. And if you do have any questions that you forgot to ask, or if you want to upload your assignments to Google Classroom in advance, that will help us to be able to project your writing onto the screen during the breakout rooms. But yeah, we're here to help. So feel free to use Google Classroom as the resource it is. And of course, if you need a refresher, the recording is going to be up on YouTube and on the Google Classroom in the next couple of days. All right. So yeah, I think that's it. No other announcements or anything. Just have fun practicing Anaphora, and we'll see you next week.
Well, good night and have a blessed week.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Stay safe.